doing?
Try to summon the power of the moon prism makeup.
In broad daylight?
It makes sense.
Let me ask you, K9, something. Do you like money? What do you do with said money when you do have money? Do you give it to charity? Do you put it towards a future career or something that you'd want to do with your life, or, you know, some kind of a dream job? No? Maybe you just go out and you go and get a candy bar or something. Maybe. Who knows? You know, we all are prone to our own different tastes, right? And what we wish to do with our money. Or maybe you could be like me. And pick up a box set of one of your favourite animes of all time growing up, Sailor Moon. Because, you know, you have nothing more to spend your Christmas money on. Sup fellow K9s, I'm your brother K9 and welcome to a brand new review. Today, as I said on the title and my cringy intros, as much as I always love doing them, I do enjoy my cringe. We are going to be reviewing one of my favourite anime shows of all time, Sailor Moon, because I've recently been rewatching the show because, as I just showed, I got a box set ordered directly from Japan, which had all of the Sailor Moon, like every single episode, completely packed into one box set. Now, because Sailor Moon is a series and not a movie, this review is going to be a little bit different, hopefully a little bit more quicker, but knowing me, I'll probably drone on for a little bit because, you know, I love to talk and I love to hear the sound of my own voice. Obviously, I love to hear the sound of my own voice, otherwise, you know, why would I be doing this series? You know, just saying. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. I like hearing the sound of my own voice. I'll admit it. I'll say it straight up. Yeah, I like listening to the sound of my own voice. But no, this review is going to be a little bit different and it's going to be structured a little bit differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the show in sort of different stages. So first things first, let me give you the brief description of what the story entails. The story follows Usagi, who is a student at a school and things in Japan, and basically she's a normal everyday girl, but she's late for class constantly. She falls asleep in class. She's an incredible problem. She's behind on her grades. Basically, she's down on her luck. And the whole story basically revolves around her discovering from this talking cat that she saves called Luna, who has a star on her head, and she's like a black cat. She discovers from Luna that she is a Sailor Guardian, and Sailor Guardians are basically like these guardians that are formed to protect the Moon Kingdom and things, because there's like a whole kingdom on the moon, and basically so she's Sailor Moon. And the whole story basically goes through. It starts off with sort of like Usagi and Luna. Usagi has to get her family to eventually like Luna, but they can't understand Luna and things. And basically the whole plot basically revolves around them at first, but then they meet more Sailor Guardians. They meet Sailor Mercury next, whose name is Ami, and basically she's a really sweet, very innocent, very gentle bookworm who loves her reading and loves her research, and you know, revising for exams, and basically is the complete opposite to Usagi, and is on top of literally one of the top people in the class, if not the top. And then there is Rei, who has a lot of attitude and fire in her belly, and also my best girl because she is Sailor Mars, and I love Sailor Mars so much. And she's basically a bit of a hothead, and she is Sailor Mars. And then they meet Sailor Jupiter, who is whose name is Makoto, and basically she's like, she's very gentle, very sweet, but very tough. Has a very tough exterior to her, but is also very sweet and kind and loving, and just wants to find a boyfriend. And a lot of like very edgy guys remind her of the guy that breaks her heart, which doesn't put her off them. It actually makes her more into them. So it's like a funny little funny little thing there that happens. You know, during the show when she's trying to find like a boyfriend and things. And then finally we have Sailor Venus, and she is with Artemis, who is a white cat who can talk, and she's also popular like Sailor. She's also popular as like a superhero called Sailor V, and she eventually joins the team and they form the full Sailor Guardians. And that's basically the full plot of Sailor Moon. They basically have to fight evil, and an evil called the Dark Kingdom, and defend the world. And that's essentially the basic premise. I'm going to go more in depth now, but I just wanted to give you the basic premise so you know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Also, do you guys like my shirt? Look, it's Sailor Moon based. It's amazing. I got it the other day from Amazon, and I'm so happy with it. I just had to wear it because, you know, we're reviewing Sailor Moon, you know, why wouldn't I do this? Am I right? So Sailor Moon is the first season, because this is we're reviewing the first season, basically is split into 3 different acts. There's the Origins act, which is basically, you know, assembling the first 3 Sailor Guardians, getting to know Usagi, and also sort of like building up the Dark Kingdom plot a little bit through a series of adventures. Like the first act, like the first arc of the show, the Origins arc, doesn't really need too much of a hardcore binge. You can sort of watch a couple episodes and kind of get the basic premise. It is kind of better that you do watch all of them, but it's like, it's not really recommended. They're kind of like separate adventures that just bit by bit build up the story, and there's only a few key episodes through that. Like, for example, the episode when they like fight Jadeite, who's like for the first 13 episodes is like the main, you know, servant of the Dark Kingdom, the ruler of the Dark Kingdom being Queen Beryl and things, and which I'll get more in depth into her in a little bit. And then the second act, which I like to call the seven crystals arc, which is basically them using a crystal to find these long lost monsters who are trapped within crystals inside reincarnations of themselves. And it's basically about finding these reincarnated people who are these great and powerful monsters and grabbing the crystals from them, because the crystals reveal this great truth, and it's sort of like a race to get the crystals from them, but also transform them back into monsters. And then, but then the Sailor Guardians have to also protect the monsters and put them back into their reincarnated human selves. And you also have enemies such as Nephrite and Kunzite and Zoisite looking for them, who are the other 3 sort of servers of, or the Kings of Heaven as they're called. Jadeite, Kunzite, Zoisite, and Nephrite are like the 4 Kings of Heaven, and they serve Queen Beryl. It introduces the other 3 because Jadeite obviously is disposed of before all that. And then we have the third act, which is the Dark Kingdom War arc, which is basically like all the Sailor Guardians by this point have all come together, and it's a series of different adventures with them, sort of them getting to know each other. But there's that growing, obviously, like ominous dark shadow of the Dark Kingdom, and a big final battle awaits, and that's what the final couple episodes are kind of that act. So we have that, and we also have some cool side characters. We have Usagi's best friend, like Naru, and a couple other people. We have some fun, goofy characters who are like these side characters. We have other girlfriends. We have like other boyfriends in the story, not like actual physical boyfriends, like, you know, they have friends who are boys. And some of them can be for comedy, some of them can be for the heart of it. Some go from comedy to more heart, you know, to more pure of heart, you know, characters as the story goes on. And yeah, that's basically, you know, that's essentially the basic premise of Sailor Moon. Yeah, and how it eventually plays off and keeps going. And also we have mysterious allies in the form of Tuxedo Mask, who is secretly a guy who constantly hates on Usagi, called Mamoru. who later on becomes a love interest of Usagi, but at first Usagi kind of hates him because he's constantly bad-mouthing her and kind of calling her bunhead and saying that she needs to improve her grades and things. But deep down, he's this hero called Tuxedo Mask who kind of steps in to help the Guardians at points, and also Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars kind of have a crush on him, so it's that fun sort of thing where they don't actually know it's Mamoru, and Usagi doesn't know she's crushing on the guy that's constantly giving her hate, but they eventually get a lot closer even outside of being Tuxedo Mask, and there are some sweet episodes that reflect that as well, so that's always nice to see. Now to go over the first arc, as I said, it's kind of like a beginning, like you have Jadeite as the main villain who kind of is going around causing mischief. Eventually he gets to know the Sailor Guardians, and it's like he's the main threat. They have to constantly fight and everything. You get introduced to Army and Rei in a few episodes after Usagi is getting used to the powers and everything. And and she starts off as kind of like this, coward who eventually through every arc becomes a lot more, able to stand on her 2 feet, and it all culminates obviously in the final episode, but we'll get to that in a bit. For what I'm going to do to better explain it is I'm kind of go through my favourite episodes of the show. So first of all, my favourite episode of the first arc has to be between episodes 11 and 12, which is Usagi versus Rei. It's like a theme park one. It's a very fun sort of goofy one, and it gets to know Rei and Usagi's rivalry that little bit more, because they are kind of like rivals. They're kind of like love rivals, and also just in general they sort of like are seen as they don't like each other very much. Sailor Mars certainly doesn't like the fact that Sailor Moon is supposed to be the leader when she's constantly a goofball and basically is constantly neglecting her duties as a Sailor Guardian. So Rei constantly has her doubts about her, but learns to sort of, trust her a lot more. And deep down she does care for Usagi. I think it's just that whole thing that she loves to tease her and, mess with her, and then Usagi just snaps back because, But anyway, the episode, my favourite episode is between episodes 12 and 13, and episodes 11 and 12, simply because I like them. I think they're very funny and witty. I like the theme park episode because I like how it reflects, again, Usagi and Rei's, rivalry, and just how silly they are, and it's also, you also get a very creepy, disturbing villain in the form of a princess who's deep down like this monstrous sort of demon that has illusions and lulls people onto the theme park to drain their life essence, and that ends up being Army, which leaves just Usagi and Rei to deal with it with Luna, and a lot of fighting and things happen, and it's a very fun episode mostly, and you also get a little bit of development between Mamoru and Usagi, and I do believe this is like one of the first episodes where Rei meets Mamoru, and there's also that whole hint of like, hey, that guy kind of looks like Tuxedo Mask, but then it's kind of played off for laughs with Usagi being like, what? No way! That idiot is not Tuxedo Mask, and it's very good. One of my highlights at the moment has to be the moment when they're talking on the train, and the toy train that's going around, and Rei just can't help but mock Usagi every chance she gets, even going along with some of the mocking things that Mamoru says about her, who's also on the train and is there as well, the theme park. It's very enjoyable. I do like theme park anime episodes, and these are the kind of episodes that I definitely enjoy. And then I said episode 12 because it's a cruise one, and the whole story is basically like Rei wants to basically get a boyfriend and dance the night away, but she can't, so she goes with Army to this cruise, and basically like they go on this sort of quest to find boyfriends and to not be single, but they can't find anybody. And the whole plot is deep down Jadeite and another monster trying to drain life essence, and it's up to Usagi, who sneaks on as a member of staff to stop them. And that's a fun episode. I enjoy the cruise episode, and it also is the sort of turning point for what would lead to the next episode being Jadeite's demise, because it's like one of the last times Jadeite failed before Queen Beryl loses her patience with him. It's a very enjoyable episode. I like that one a lot. It's got plenty of heart and also plenty of continuity, and definitely sets the stage for what's to come next. Episode 13 rolls around, we get the end of Jadeite's demise, which then leads to Nephrite, which eventually leads to the whole Crystals storyline and trying to find these different monsters, but that kind of comes in a little bit later. We do get a little bit more origins, but it is technically by this point the second act, with Nephrite being the main villain. And it's quite interesting because you get throughout the story hints that Nephrite isn't like the other kings of heaven. He has actually a heart, and he's actually a good person. He's just obviously, he can't help but be manipulative, and he can't help but be an awful person for everybody, because he is still a king of heaven, and he is also a servant of Queen Beryl, so he still has to stick to that. So there's that whole sort of sad, but you can tell there's definitely some goodness in him, even at his most despised moments. And Naru, one of Usagi's best friends, even has a romance between Nephrite and herself. And that's an interesting plot development. It's definitely the turning point that helps him change his tone, which is why I'm going to go, in terms of my favourite for this part of the story, it will definitely have to go to Nephrite Dies for Love. There's so many episodes I cry at, but that episode is definitely one of the bigger ones, because I hate seeing Naru in pain, because she's such an amazing person and such a great character. She's so cool and such a great friend to Usagi. Why wouldn't I be emotional by her losing her love? And it's such a tragic thing as well, because they talk about having a date and going to get a chocolate fondue, and when he's dying and her arms are saying, sorry, I guess I lied to you again, we're not going to be able to get that chocolate fondue. It's so sad, because they were laughing and having fun earlier before Nephrite died and protected her, before these plant monsters could kill her. There's these three ladies with powers to pierce and stab, and unfortunately the Sailor Guardians get there too late. What I also like about this episode is the Sailor Guardians don't really drive the plot too much. They're kind of sort of in the background for this one. It mostly follows Naru and her choice to love Nephrite, because in one of the earlier episodes she defends Nephrite and almost gets herself killed by Sailor Moon's Moon Tiara, just to defend Nephrite. So she definitely makes a choice to want to defend him, which is what makes this episode so devastating. It's a shame that the episode kind of spoils it, but at the same time, though, it spoils it. It's you deep down hope, since they spoiled that there's gonna be a twist, that Nephrite is somehow gonna be okay, but he's not, and it's sad, and I hate it, and it makes me miserable every single time. A truly emotional episode, absolutely just fantastic. And then literally about, I think it's an episode or two later, we get introduced to Jupiter, so at least we get that. So for the third act of the entire series, there is so much that I could have chosen. There are so many fantastic episodes. And I know I kind of cheated a little bit by putting it between, 2 episodes in the first arc, but it's just, they're just all so different, and just none of them kind of ultimately, not all of them matter. I mean, episode 12 matters, but it's I don't know, I just thought that would be a fair exception, because by Act 2 things start to get a lot more plot heavy, and there's a lot more sort of continuity that happens, so I thought that would be kind of fair enough, and it's also a little bit more easier to narrow them down as well by this point too. I could have chosen any of the episodes that happened during the actual final battle, or any other point, but this episode I feel deserves its place just because it's the calm before the storm. It's one of the last times of the girls actually being legitimately, happy and at peace, and that is Usagi's family vacation, which is an episode which, by this point, Tuxedo Mask has been captured by the Dark Kingdom and has been brainwashed, and he gets asked to basically check this strange energy happening at this the oceans of this this holiday springs place. The springs being sort of a popular place you can go to in Japan, where it's they're these popular sort of tourist spots where you go into these hot springs, and you go in with a towel, and it's a nice way to sort of relax yourself. By these springs there's a lake, and inside the lake is a Lamia monster, and basically Mamoru, aka Toxino Mask, summons the monster, and by this point, Sailor Guardians do know who Mamoru is, and they also know that he's under the control of the Dark Kingdom. It starts off as a very wholesome family holiday, like it's literally just Usagi and her family, just on this trip, leaving Luna behind, with a bunch of cats from East Bless. It's like that sort of like family gathering, but then it becomes a lot more like Sailor Moon-esque when the Suithalamia monster comes out. It's a lot more business as usual, but eventually the monster is defeated, but the monster is put at peace and is actually made to be, to go into the afterlife. Is restored from her monstrous form to a much more beautiful maiden, because the whole point was she turned into a monster, jealous of her loving somebody else. So, and then there's all the Sailor Guardians come to help as well. We get some great moments of Usagi's family defending her and them defending each other against the monster. And eventually it ends with the Sailor Guardians having a hot spring bath together. It's just them having a lot of fun. It even ends on a nice wholesome song, and I like to think that it ends on the wholesome song as kind of like a way to signal that, this is fun, but all the fun's about to end. And I just like it for that reason. I like it. It's like one of the last wholesome episodes. I like that we get to see a lot more of Usagi's family. I like that Usagi and her mum have a nice talk about, her potentially loving someone and her saying please to, bring them over for dinner. That makes me smile every time. It's a very, very beautiful little story. It's a simple story. It's not one that many people would expect one to do, especially for the final arc. But for me, that's personally my favourite of that particular arc. Especially since I see the final battle as like its own thing. And so, after several adventures, defeating Jadeite, Nephrite dying, defeating Zoisite, and eventually it's just left with Kunzite, eventually they have to find a way into the Dark Kingdom, and you get a few episodes of them trying to figure out ways, including faking a fallout between each other, but deep down it's not true. It's just a way to sort of, convince the enemies that Sailor Moon's turned bad so they can get her into the dimension. But none of those plans work, and it eventually just comes down to them finding the entrance, the entrance to the Dark Kingdom, which Luna and Artemis eventually find, and they send the Guardians off. And it starts off with a battle against Kunzite, and Kunzite loses. We even get a flashback to how the Moon Kingdom was destroyed. That's another thing in the second, towards the end of the second arc. You do get Serena, because that's Usagi's real name, Princess Serena. You do get her memories restored. You do get hints of just how powerful she deep down is, because they've been searching for a Moon Princess, and they think it's the job of the Sailor Guardians to find the Moon Princess. Little did they realise, Usagi is not only the Moon Princess, she's also Sailor Moon. She's also the leader of the Sailor Guardians. So that's a twist in of itself. And in this flashback during the final arc, we learned that the Queen cast a spell to basically send all the dead people of the Moon Kingdom to Earth and have their memories erased and basically reincarnate them so they could live a normal, peaceful life. And all their families they have are real, and it's basically like their lives just reset. So it's like it's giving them a future in place of her, because the Queen ends up dying to make this reality happen and vanishing the Dark Kingdom. But unfortunately, the Dark Kingdom is back, so that's what leads to them knowing what they have to do. They have to keep going, and they have to get into the Dark Kingdom and end this, which leads them to the Arctic in one of the most horrible episodes ever. And by that, it's not that it's a bad episode, it's a great episode, but it's an episode I can't get through. Before we continue, I just want to give a quick warning: spoilers, okay, for this, because this is getting into spoiler territory for the actual end of the show. So for those of you who haven't watched Sailor Moon, spoilers, go watch it, or whatever, or if you don't care, then keep watching, What do I care, It's your life, I'm not your dad. You canines do what you want. So the Sailor Guardians make it to the Arctic, which seems to be the entrance to the Dark Kingdom, but they have a final obstacle. They have to get through four really powerful monsters, who are essentially they're essentially oh no wait, is it 4 powerful? No, it's 5 powerful monsters. Sorry, I completely had a mind fart then. And So there's 5 enemy monsters who are essentially like the Sailor Guardians, but not like exactly like, but they are essentially they have that kind of, you know, look about them, and you see bit by bit every single Sailor Guardian fall at the hands of these creatures. You see some of them sacrificing themselves to destroy one of the 5. You see some of them just straight up die. It's one of the most brutal and horrific episodes I think I've ever seen in terms of a classic anime, and has all the crimes of being a typical 90s anime, where it's just so goddamn brutal. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of brutal anime out there nowadays, but oh my god, this is like full-on brutality. Like, you see these Sailor Guardians like stabbed, frozen up, and like have things through their chest, being burnt alive, zapped alive, frozen alive. Oh my god, it's just so hard to watch through. So all the Sailor Guardians end up dying except for Sailor Moon. They all die protecting her to make sure she gets in, and she rushes down, gets into a battle with Queen Beryl and Tuxedo Mask, who's still under the control. They did briefly break him out of it, but they just increased the brainwash, and it's a very intense moment. But Usagi, aka Serena, manages to break Tuxedo Mask out of the trance by basically showing him the music box, a music box that was very precious to them in the flashback in their previous lives, with him being a prince. And it turns out Queen Beryl actually loved Mamoru, aka Tuxedo Mask, so is now, like, with him being brainwashed, is now forcing him to marry her. But thanks to this music box, she manages to snap him out of it, and they manage to kill Queen Beryl, but at the cost of Tuxedo Mask's life. So then Tuxedo Mask dies, so then she loses her love, and it's literally just her. She has to finish this because Queen Beryl gets one more power-up at the hands of the true mastermind here, which is like basically like a queen of darkness, an all-powerful entity being who is now fully restored, and she gets fully powered up. She comes blooming out of it like a dark flower, and that's when we get one of the greatest anime final battles ever in the history of a show. So great. You get the Sailor Moon theme song blaring off with a massive beam struggle, but eventually she asks for the help of all of her friends that passed away, all the Sailor Guardians. One final blast that sends Queen Beryl packing to the afterlife. Packing her bags and leaving life because she's going to the afterlife. Then Serena, aka Usagi, ends up dying because she used up all of her strength. But she has one final wish for the Moon Prism to grant, which is reincarnating everybody again, basically. So everything kind of resets, and they don't have their memories anymore, but there's that whole message of, well, when they're ready, they will remember, and they will remember what happened, and they'll be back, and the fighting will continue. There will be a new threat, and we've just got to have faith and believe in the Sailor Guardians. And let me just say that this is probably one of the most depressing of the endings. All the other Sailor Moon seasons are kind of like, they kind of get more and more mellow. Sure, they're still heartbreaking, but this is probably the most heartbreaking the show ever went. It's definitely shows with it being the first season, and just in general, like, it's definitely got a lot of the darkness of the Sailor Moon franchise. In later seasons, if I remember correctly, it kind of became a lot more light-hearted as it came along, and became a much more enjoyable anime, and like a series of 30 to 40 episodes that would come out every now and again for Japanese and English audiences. I don't remember how long the Deke dub lasted for, but I do know the Viz dub did like the whole of the season. Like the whole series as a whole, not just the original series, but like everything. But yeah, that's Sailor Moon, and it's such a great series. I still love it. I'm very happy I started rewatching it. Sailor Moon is just such a different kind of show. It's got that typical magical girl transformation kind of thing, but then there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more layering to it, and at first you kind of I can understand, because some people tell me they get bored within the first arc because they don't know where this is going, and it's moving so slowly, and you know, the plot's kind of resetting, there's not really a set plot, but eventually, when you get past Jadeite's death, things pick up so much, and if you're not invested by Nephrite's death, then, you know, trust me, even with me telling you, you'll be invested. And it just gets better and better as it goes, and every episode is also in itself a nice gripper. My advice, kind of try to take the first arc bit by bit, don't overdo it, you know, take it at your own pace, that's kind of the key with it, and then eventually you'll be fine. It's overall a very, very fantastic and very enjoyable arc. Just go at your own pace, you know. Go at your own pace. Final thoughts on this show. Still absolutely adore it. The original show is still an absolute cult classic. I absolutely just relish in it every time I get the chance to rewatch it, and whether it's just for my own leisure or now for reviewing, I would totally recommend watching Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon, The Great Collection, trust me, this is worth it. It's like every episode shipped from Japan. Usually it is a Japanese origin DVD, but it's definitely a steal, and it's a lot better than the box sets you get from like Funimation and things, because no offense, Funimation and all of that, I love them, you know, they're great, but they're not the best when it comes to pricing their like merch and things. Still as classic as I remember it, still would 100% recommend it. It's just a fun time for all ages to enjoy, and critiques wise, I say there are some episodes that move a little bit slowly, but eventually you'll get used to it, and when you get past the first arc especially, you'll start to get a lot more invested in the characters. You've just got to put up with a few episodes of kind of like the plot not really meaning too much. If you want to, I don't really know how you can skip some of them, but I'm pretty sure there is some way you can, like, you know, not watch all of them and still get the basic idea on how it works. You know, I'm pretty sure there is a method, maybe, I don't know. Either way, this is Sailor Moon. Great series, and I would probably, if I had to rank this show as a 12 out of 10. It has its issues, definitely, but it's still a perfect show, and just definitely a quintessential anime starter, I think, especially if you're new to anime, like. And if you are already into anime and you enjoy these kind of animes, like magical girl transformation animes, then, well, regardless of how the first act is, I think that you would really enjoy this. And on that note, Canines, that concludes our review of Sailor Moon. It's different compared to other reviews simply because, like, it is a series. I didn't really know how to do it justice. But I hope I did. I hope this was a good review for all of you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked my system of picking favourite episodes from different arcs of the first season and doing it that way, and then kind of going through also a brief description of every single arc as well. I hope that was nice as well. I hope this is also as well, you know, interested you in checking out this series, because this is definitely a series I would recommend watching. It's definitely a lot of fun. A lot of like charm and heart in this show, and it's just, yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend this show. It's a good time for all ages, and you'll definitely fall in love with the characters. There are plenty of cry-worthy moments in this anime. So many moments where you'll laugh and just have a ton of fun. Usagi and her clumsiness and just being a coward for the first, you know, lot of episodes is a lot of fun, and it's very satisfying to see her go from, you know, somebody that always runs away to eventually somebody with the resolve to stand and fight these monsters no matter what happens. It's definitely a ton of fun, and just, yeah, I love it. I love Sailor Moon. I love it so much. I can't, you know, stress that enough. And I'm looking forward to watching Sailor Moon R, the second official series, and yeah, watching that for all of you to review that as well. That will definitely be a lot of fun. Don't know if I'll stick to the same system with that, but we'll see, you know, we'll see. Yeah, I'm kind of like making up these reviews as I go along, you know. Well, not making them up, I know which reviews I want to do, just I'm making up kind of the formula of how I do certain reviews. With movie reviews, it will probably be the same as my No Way Home, but with these kind of animes, like anime reviews and other stuff like that, I'll probably be something like that. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed this review of Sailor Moon. Thank you all so very much for always supporting me. I love you all so very much, and I will see you all in the next review. Until next time, Canines, Canine out! And remember, the moonlight is a symbol of love. Sup fellow canines and you canines alike, Good Pup Canine here, just to say a quick thank you for checking out this video and for your support. If you like what you see and you want to see more from me, then please be sure to subscribe down below and hit the like button as well, and comment your thoughts down below too. I would love to hear from all of you. And please check out my previous content if you want to see more of my previous works. Also, if you want to catch me live when I'm playing games and doing more gaming stuff, then I am live every Thursday and Friday at 5:30 and 4:30 PM UK time on Twitch with story games and online games. Thursdays are online games and Fridays are story games. Then also be sure to check out my socials down below, my Twitter for updates on streams, videos and other personal life, my Instagram for cosplay photos and other fun stuff, and my DeviantArt for my fictions based off of Ruby and other anime I like, both peril and non-peril situations and genuine stories. Thank you all so very much for tuning into this video, and until next time everybody, see you all in the next one. Canine out!